In the year 2347, humanity had reached new heights. Earth was no longer just a planet, but a key player in the Galactic Council, a group of advanced civilizations that govern the stars. On an orbital station called Haven 9, Nathan Cole, a scientist and advisor to Earth's delegation, sat in his small office reviewing data. He was a quiet man with sharp eyes and a mind always working. Something felt off. For weeks, he had noticed strange patterns in the Council's communications. Messages were delayed, altered slightly, or missing entirely. At first, he thought it was just technical errors, but now he wasn't so sure. Nathan shared his concerns with his wife, Rachel Monroe, over dinner one evening. Rachel was different from Nathan. Bold, decisive, and a high-ranking officer in the United Space Fleet. She listened carefully as Nathan explained what he had found. "It's not just random," Nathan said, pushing his plate aside. "Someone is tampering with the messages. I don't know why yet, but it's deliberate." Rachel frowned, her fingers tapping the table. "If you're right, this could be bad. Really bad." The next day, Rachel visited her friend Daniel Hayes, a council representative for Earth. Daniel was a thoughtful man, known for his calm demeanor and knack for diplomacy. Rachel trusted him completely. In a private meeting room aboard Haven 9, she showed him Nathan's findings. Daniel studied the data silently, his brow furrowing. "This doesn't look good," he admitted finally. "But we need more proof before we can accuse anyone. The Council is already suspicious of us. If we act too quickly, we might make things worse." As they spoke, tensions in the galaxy were rising. Delegates from other species often gave humans cold stares during meetings. Whispers spread about how humanity was growing too powerful, too fast. Some even accused Earth of hoarding resources and ignoring galactic laws. These accusations weren't true, but they stung. Nathan spent long hours digging deeper into the anomalies, trying to piece together what was happening. He found references to secret agreements, coded language that hinted at something darker. Meanwhile, Rachel received classified reports from her fleet commanders. Strange ships had been spotted near human colonies, moving in patterns that suggested reconnaissance missions. It was subtle, almost unnoticeable, but Rachel recognized the signs. Someone was preparing for war. She relayed this information to Daniel, who grew increasingly worried. "We need to warn Earth," he said. "But how do we do that without causing panic?" Back home, life on Haven 9 continued as usual. People went about their routines, unaware of the storm brewing in the shadows. Nathan worked late into the night, his desk cluttered with papers and holographic displays. Rachel paced their apartment, unable to sleep. Both knew time was running out, but neither could predict how quickly events would unfold. A few days later, the Council announced an emergency summit to discuss resource allocation. All member species were required to attend. Nathan, Rachel, and Daniel exchanged uneasy glances when they heard the news. They didn't trust the timing. Still, they prepared for the trip to Elysium Station, the Council's central hub. As they boarded their ship, Nathan turned to Rachel. "Whatever happens there," he said quietly, "we stick together." Rachel nodded, gripping his hand tightly. They didn't know it yet, but this summit would change everything, for humanity and the galaxy. The emergency summit on Elysium Station was supposed to be a routine gathering, but from the moment Nathan Cole, Rachel Monroe, and Daniel Hayes arrived, they could feel the tension in the air. The station was a sprawling structure made of shimmering metal and glass, floating silently in the void of space. Delegates from dozens of alien species filled the grand hall, their colorful robes and intricate uniforms blending into a sea of diversity. Yet beneath the surface of polite greetings and formal handshakes, there was an undercurrent of hostility. Humanity's rise in the Galactic Council had made many uneasy, and now it seemed that unease was turning into something darker. Daniel tried to stay calm as he took his seat at the council table. He glanced around the room, noting how some delegates avoided eye contact while others exchanged knowing looks. Rachel stood nearby, her arms crossed, watching the crowd with sharp eyes. She had spent years leading soldiers, and her instincts told her something was wrong. Nathan stayed close to Daniel, clutching a data pad filled with the evidence he had gathered. He hoped it would be enough to convince others of the growing threat against humanity. The meeting began with speeches from various representatives, each outlining their concerns about resource shortages and territorial disputes. When it was Daniel's turn to speak, he carefully addressed the accusations against Earth. "We have followed every rule set by this council," he said firmly, his voice steady. "Any claims otherwise are false and designed to divide us." Some delegates nodded in agreement, but others stared back coldly, unmoved by his words. As the discussions dragged on, Nathan noticed something alarming. Several delegates who had previously supported humanity were suddenly silent or spoke against them. It was as if they had been pressured, or bribed, into changing their stance. His suspicions deepened when one of the council's senior members, a tall, insect-like alien named Vezir, proposed a vote to label humanity as a rogue species. "Their actions threaten the stability of the galaxy," Vezir declared, pointing a spindly limb toward Daniel. "They must be held accountable." Rachel felt her stomach tighten. This was what she had feared all along, a coordinated effort to isolate humanity. Before Daniel could respond, Nathan leaned forward and whispered urgently, "I found proof. Show them the files." Daniel hesitated for a moment, then activated the holographic display on the table, projecting Nathan's decrypted documents for everyone to see. The room erupted into chaos as delegates argued over the authenticity of the evidence. Some demanded answers, while others dismissed it as propaganda. Before the debate could continue, the council chair called for an immediate vote. Despite Daniel's protests, the motion passed with a narrow majority. Humanity was officially labeled a rogue species, giving the council legal grounds to take military action. The room fell silent as the weight of the decision settled over everyone. Rachel clenched her fists, barely containing her anger. Nathan looked pale, realizing the gravity of what had just happened. They had walked into a trap. Back on their ship after the meeting, the three of them sat in stunned silence. "This isn't just politics anymore," Rachel said finally, breaking the quiet. "They're coming for us." Daniel nodded grimly. "We need to warn Earth. If we don't prepare, we're finished." Nathan stared out the window at the stars, his mind racing. "There's still hope," he said softly. "If we can use the ancient tech I've been studying, we might stand a chance." But hope felt distant as the ship left Elysium Station behind. Unknown to them, fleets loyal to the Council were already mobilizing, their targets clear: Earth and its colonies. The betrayal had begun, and humanity's survival depended on how quickly they could respond. Back on Haven 9, Nathan Cole worked tirelessly in his lab, surrounded by glowing screens and scattered notes. The evidence he had uncovered at the summit weighed heavily on his mind. He knew humanity was running out of time. Rachel Monroe paced the room, her boots clicking against the metal floor. She had already sent urgent messages to Admiral Lewis Carter, the commander of the United Space Fleet, warning him about the Council's betrayal. But even with the fleet preparing for war, they were outnumbered and outgunned. The enemy had centuries of experience and far more advanced ships. "We need something to turn the tide," Nathan muttered, rubbing his temples. He glanced at Sarah Blake, a brilliant engineer who had joined him in the lab. Sarah was young but sharp, with a knack for solving problems no one else could crack. Together, they had been studying an ancient alien artifact recovered from a derelict ship years ago. It was a risky project. No one fully understood how the technology worked, but it was their best shot. "If we can adapt this tech," Nathan said, pointing to the strange, pulsating device on the table, "we might have a chance." Sarah nodded, her hands moving quickly over a control panel. "I think I've found a way to amplify its energy output," she said. "But we'll need to test it in the field, and that means going somewhere dangerous." Nathan didn't hesitate. "Then we'll go," he said firmly. "We don't have a choice." While Nathan and Sarah worked on the artifact, Rachel coordinated with Admiral Carter to draw up defensive plans. The Council's fleets were already moving, targeting smaller human colonies on the edge of Earth's territory. These outposts were poorly defended, easy targets meant to weaken morale and stretch resources thin. Rachel knew they couldn't save everyone, but she was determined to protect as many lives as possible. She ordered evacuation protocols for civilian populations and redirected military forces to reinforce key locations. The news spread quickly across Haven 9, causing panic among the station's residents. Families packed what little they could carry, while others refused to leave, clinging to the hope that help would arrive in time. Rachel visited the crowded docking bays, trying to reassure people. "We're not giving up," she told a group of frightened colonists. "We'll fight back. Just get to safety for now." Her words brought some comfort, but fear lingered in everyone's eyes. Meanwhile, Daniel Hayes worked behind the scenes, reaching out to neutral alien species who hadn't sided with the Council. He knew humanity couldn't win this fight alone. They needed allies. Through encrypted channels, he shared the evidence Nathan had uncovered, exposing the Council's treachery. Some species were hesitant to act, fearing retaliation, but others began to question the Council's motives. Slowly, support for humanity started to grow. As days passed, the situation grew more dire. Reports came in of Council ships attacking human outposts, destroying supply lines, and capturing civilians. The losses were devastating, but Rachel refused to give up. She led a daring counterattack against a blockade near Proxima Colony, using clever maneuvers to outwit the enemy fleet. Her bravery inspired the soldiers under her command, but the cost was high. Entire squadrons were lost, and the faces of fallen comrades haunted her dreams. In the lab, Nathan and Sarah finally completed their prototype. It wasn't perfect, but it was functional, a portable shield generator powered by the alien artifact. "This could buy us time," Sarah said, holding up the small device. Nathan looked at it, his expression grim. "Let's hope it's enough," he replied. Unbeknownst to them, the Council's forces were closing in. Humanity's window of opportunity was shrinking fast. The coming battles would decide not just their survival, but the future of the galaxy itself. The Council's forces launched their first major assault on Proxima Colony, a small but vital outpost on the edge of human territory. The colony's defenses were weak, its weapons outdated, and its people unprepared for the scale of the attack. Enemy ships descended like a swarm of insects, their sleek hulls glinting in the dim light of the nearby star. Explosions lit up the sky as bombs rained down on the settlement below. Buildings crumbled, fires spread, and screams filled the air. Rachel Monroe was ready. She had anticipated this strike and positioned her fleet nearby, waiting for the right moment to act. From the bridge of her flagship, she watched the chaos unfold, her jaw clenched tight. "Not today," she muttered under her breath. With a swift command, she signaled her ships to engage. The United Space Fleet emerged from behind an asteroid belt, catching the enemy off guard. Rachel's strategy was simple but effective. Hit hard, hit fast, and retreat before the larger Council forces could regroup. The battle was fierce. Council ships fired relentlessly, their weapons tearing through human vessels. But Rachel's pilots were skilled, weaving through the chaos with precision. They targeted key enemy ships, disabling engines and weapon systems. For every human ship lost, 2 Council ships went down. It was a costly victory, but it worked. The enemy fleet withdrew temporarily, giving Rachel's forces time to evacuate the remaining colonists. Back on Haven 9, Nathan Cole prepared for his own dangerous mission. The prototype shield generator he and Sarah Blake had built needed to be tested in the field. To do that, they had to activate ancient nodes scattered across contested space, nodes that amplified the device's power. The first node was located deep inside enemy-controlled territory, on a desolate moon called Krylos 7. It was heavily guarded, but Nathan knew they had no choice. "We have to try," he told Sarah. "If we don't, humanity won't stand a chance." Nathan assembled a small team for the mission. Ethan Ross, a fearless pilot with quick reflexes, and Mia Foster, a calm and resourceful medic. Together, they boarded a stealth ship designed to avoid detection. As they approached Krylos 7, tension filled the cabin. The moon's surface was barren and lifeless, dotted with jagged rocks and glowing energy towers. Enemy patrols circled the area, their ships scanning for intruders. Ethan guided the ship into a narrow canyon, using the terrain to hide from enemy sensors. "Stay low and quiet," he said, his hand steady on the controls. Once they landed, the team moved quickly, sticking to the shadows. Nathan carried the shield generator, its faint hum vibrating in his hands. They reached the node, a towering structure covered in alien symbols. But guards blocked their path. A firefight broke out, the sound of blaster fire echoing through the canyon. Mia tended to Ethan after he took a hit shielding Nathan from enemy fire. "Keep moving," Ethan shouted, wincing in pain. Nathan hesitated, torn between helping his friend and completing the mission. "Go," Ethan insisted. "I'll hold them off." Reluctantly, Nathan and Mia pressed forward, reaching the node just as reinforcements arrived. With seconds to spare, Nathan activated the device. A surge of energy pulsed through the air, creating a shimmering shield around the area. The enemy ships faltered, unable to penetrate the barrier. But the victory came at a cost. Ethan stayed behind, drawing enemy fire until his last breath. When Nathan and Mia returned to the ship, they were silent, grief weighing heavily on their shoulders. The shield generator worked, but the price had been high. As they left Krylos 7 behind, Nathan stared out the window, his mind racing. The fight was far from over, and humanity's survival depended on what they did next. Nathan Cole and Mia Foster returned to Haven 9 with heavy hearts. The success of activating the first node was overshadowed by the loss of Ethan Ross. His sacrifice weighed on both of them, but they knew there was no time to grieve. Humanity's survival depended on their next move. Nathan immediately began analyzing data from the shield generator, studying how it interacted with the ancient node. "The energy output is incredible," he told Sarah Blake, who had stayed behind to refine the technology. "If we can activate more nodes, we might be able to create a network of shields across human territory." Rachel Monroe was already planning their next mission. The Council's forces were regrouping after their defeat at Proxima Colony, and she knew they wouldn't wait long before striking again. "We need those shields operational as soon as possible," she said during a meeting with Nathan and Admiral Carter. "Every day we delay gives them more time to prepare." Nathan nodded, his expression grim. "There are 3 more nodes in contested space. Each one is deeper into enemy territory than the last. It won't be easy." The team decided to split up. While Nathan and Mia prepared for their next mission, Rachel led the fleet in a series of hit-and-run attacks against Council supply lines. These raids disrupted the enemy's operations and bought valuable time for the SHIELD project. Along the way, Rachel encountered small groups of human resistance fighters hiding in abandoned outposts. These survivors had been cut off from Earth but were eager to fight back. Rachel welcomed their help, sharing intelligence and supplies. Together, they formed a loose alliance, determined to protect what little remained of human territory. Nathan and Mia's second mission took them to a remote asteroid field where the second node was hidden. This time, they weren't alone. A group of resistance fighters joined them, providing cover fire and helping navigate the treacherous terrain. As they approached the node, Nathan noticed signs of sabotage, damaged equipment, and booby traps left by Council agents. Someone had been here before them, trying to prevent the node from being activated. "They know what we're doing," Nathan said, his voice tense. "We'll have to be careful." The team worked quickly, repairing damaged systems and setting up the shield generator. But just as Nathan activated the node, an ambush erupted. Council ships appeared from behind nearby asteroids, surrounding them. The resistance fighters fought valiantly, holding off waves of enemy troops while Nathan and Mia completed the activation process. One by one, the resistance fighters fell, their sacrifices allowing Nathan and Mia to finish the job. When the shield sprang to life, the Council ships retreated, unable to penetrate its defenses. Back on Haven 9, the mood was bittersweet. The shield network was growing stronger, but the cost in lives was staggering. Nathan spent hours in his lab, fine-tuning the technology and preparing for the final 2 nodes. Sarah worked alongside him, her hand steady despite the stress. "We're close," she said, her voice filled with quiet determination. "Just a little longer." Rachel, meanwhile, faced new challenges. The Council had begun spreading propaganda, accusing humanity of using forbidden weapons and violating galactic laws. Some neutral species wavered, unsure who to believe. Daniel Hayes worked tirelessly to counter these lies, reaching out to allies and exposing the Council's true intentions. Slowly, support for humanity grew, but trust was fragile. As Nathan prepared for the 3rd mission, he couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest battles were yet to come. The Council's forces were adapting, becoming more aggressive. Humanity's hope rested on the shield network and on the courage of those willing to risk everything to protect it. The war was far from over, but Nathan knew one thing for certain: they would not give up without a fight. The final battle was approaching, and humanity's fate hung in the balance. With 2 of the 4 ancient nodes activated, Nathan Cole and his team prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. The 3rd node was located near the heart of Council-controlled space, on a heavily fortified moon called Vortex 9. Enemy ships patrolled the area constantly, and the defenses were rumored to be impenetrable. Nathan knew this mission could decide everything. "If we can activate this node," he told Maya Foster, "we'll have enough shields to protect Earth and our major colonies. But if we fail—" Mia nodded, her expression resolute. "We won't fail," she said firmly. Together, they gathered a small strike team, including resistance fighters who had proven their loyalty in previous battles. The group boarded a stealth ship equipped with advanced cloaking technology, hoping to slip past enemy patrols undetected. As they approached Vortex 9, tension filled the cabin. The moon loomed ahead, its surface covered in jagged ridges and glowing energy domes. Ethan's sacrifice still weighed heavily on Nathan's mind, but he pushed the thought aside, focusing on the task at hand. The team landed in a remote valley, far from the main enemy stronghold. Moving silently under the cover of darkness, they'd made their way toward the node. Along the way, they encountered remnants of human resistance fighters hiding in caves. These survivors shared valuable information about enemy movements and offered to help. "You're not alone," one fighter said, gripping Nathan's shoulder. "We're with you." With the resistance fighters' support, Nathan and his team reached the node just as enemy reinforcements arrived. A fierce firefight broke out, blaster bolts lighting up the night sky. The resistance fighters fought bravely, holding off waves of Council troops while Nathan worked to activate the node. Maya stayed close, defending him from enemy snipers. "Hurry," she shouted, firing her weapon. Nathan's hands moved quickly over the controls, sweat dripping down his face. Just as the enemy closed in, the shield generator roared to life. A massive energy barrier enveloped the area, forcing the Council forces to retreat. Back on Haven 9, Rachel Monroe led a bold counteroffensive against the Council's fleets. With the new shields operational, humanity's ships could withstand enemy fire like never before. Rachel coordinated attacks on key Council strongholds, targeting supply depots and communication hubs. Her strategies turned the tide of the war, pushing the Council's forces back step by step. Morale among human soldiers soared as they realized victory was within reach. Meanwhile, Daniel Hayes delivered a powerful speech at an assembly of neutral alien species. Using evidence uncovered by Nathan, he exposed the Council's treachery, showing how certain factions had orchestrated the conflict to eliminate humanity. His words struck a chord with many, and some species began defecting to join humanity's side. Slowly but surely, alliances shifted, weakening the Council's grip on the galaxy. On the front lines, Nathan and his team prepared for the final mission, activating the fourth and last node. This one was located deep inside enemy territory, guarded by the Council's most elite forces. It would be the hardest fight yet, but Nathan refused to give up. "This is it," he told Mia as they boarded their ship. "One more node, and we'll have a fighting chance." As the battle raged on, humanity stood united, not just as Earth's people, but alongside newfound allies who believed in freedom and justice. The Council's forces were faltering, their morale shattered by unexpected resistance. For the first time since the war began, hope flickered in the hearts of those fighting for survival. The final showdown was coming, and humanity was ready to face it head-on. The final battle took place above Earth's moon, where humanity and its allies made their last stand against the Council's forces. The sky was filled with streaks of light as ships clashed in a chaotic dance of destruction. Rachel Monroe led the charge, her flagship at the center of the fray. The energy shields powered by the ancient nodes held strong, deflecting enemy fire and giving humanity's fleet a fighting chance. For the first time, the Council's forces hesitated, unsure how to counter the unexpected resistance. Nathan Cole and his team had succeeded in activating the fourth node just hours before the battle began. Exhausted but determined, Nathan joined Rachel on the bridge of her ship, watching as the tide turned in their favor. "We did it," he said quietly, his voice filled with awe. Rachel nodded, her eyes fixed on the battlefield. "Not yet," she replied. "We finished this." As the fight raged on, Sarah Blake and her engineers unveiled a prototype weapon derived from the alien technology. It was a device capable of disabling enemy ships without causing mass casualties. When deployed, the weapon emitted a pulse of energy that disrupted the Council's systems, leaving their ships powerless. One by one, the enemy vessels floated helplessly in space, their crews forced to surrender. The Council's commanders realized they were losing control of the battle. In a desperate attempt to regain the upper hand, the Council sent their largest warship, a massive dreadnought, into the fight. The ship loomed over the battlefield like a shadow, its weapons trained on Earth itself. If it fired, the planet would be devastated. Nathan knew what had to be done. "We can use the shield generator to overload its systems," he said, "but someone has to get close enough to plant the device." Without hesitation, Mia Foster volunteered for the mission. She piloted a small fighter toward the dreadnought, dodging enemy fire as she approached. Her heart pounded as she reached the ship's hull and attached the device. "It's done," she said over the comms, her voice steady despite the danger. Moments later, the generator overloaded, disabling the dreadnought and forcing it to retreat. The sight of the mighty ship limping away broke the Council's resolve. With their forces crumbling, the Council sued for peace. Representatives from both sides gathered aboard Haven 9 for negotiations. Daniel Hayes addressed the assembly, his words sharp and clear. "You sought to destroy us because you feared our strength," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "But we are not your enemies. We fought not for conquest, but for survival. If you ever threaten us again, we will strike back. Flee now, and never return." The Council agreed to dissolve its corrupt leadership and establish a new era of cooperation based on mutual respect. Humanity emerged stronger than ever, its people united by the sacrifices made during the war. Nathan returned to his lab, determined to continue studying the ancient technology. Rachel stayed with the fleet, ensuring Earth's defenses remained strong. Together, they looked to the future, ready to forge humanity's destiny among the stars. Though scars remained, hope burned brighter than ever. The galaxy had changed, and humanity had proven it belonged among the stars, not as followers, but as leaders.